Have you heard about Global Poker? Global Poker is the fastest growing card room in the US today, and it's available online at globalpoker.com. Global Poker is a social poker site that offers safe and secure cash-out options by using their unique and patented sweepstakes model. Players can compete in big guaranteed tournaments, jackpot sit-and-goes, or cash games featuring Hold'em, Omaha, and even Crazy Pineapple. Don't wait. Check out Global Poker today.
Poker Stories is an audio series that features casual interviews with some of the game's best players and personalities. Each episode highlights a well-known figure in the poker world and dives deep into their favorite tales both on and off the feld.
Hello and welcome back to Poker Stories, a podcast brought to you by Card Player, the Poker Authority, and hosted by me, Julio Rodriguez. This is episode number 66, and it's one that a lot of you have been waiting for. That's right, one of our most requested interviews. This is Darren Elias. Now, Darren is only 32, which is still pretty young in poker, but he's already established himself as the World Poker Tour end boss. Not only does he hold the tour record with 4 WPT titles, but he's been remarkably consistent even when he doesn't win. He's also number 1 on the tour in cashes with 35, and number 1 in final tables with 13. Darren's first WPT title came at the 2014 Borgata Poker Open, where he won $843K. His second title came immediately after that at the WPT Carribbean stop. His third win happened in Canada at the 2017 Fallsview Poker Classic, and his last victory was at the Aria for the 2018 Bobby Baldwin Classic. This year alone, he's already won a $25K high roller at the Gardens Poker Championship, and he nearly won his 5th WPT title, the LA Poker Classic, ultimately falling just short in 3rd place for just under $500,000. In total, Darren has cashed for just over $7 million during his live career, and that's on top of another $4 million won online. Anyway, that's enough intro. Here's my conversation with Darren Elias. Hello, Darren.
Hi, Julio.
How you doing?
Good. Very good.
Off day in Vegas. That's got to be a rare thing for you, right?
Yeah. Maybe once a week tops, I get an off day here. Depends how tournaments are going. Sometimes you need an off day to stay sharp. But, yeah.
Is it a recharge day, or is it like I need to get some errands done day?
No, it's more of a recharge, relax, get my mind right. I tend to take more of them when I'm losing. I think when I'm in a tough stretch than when I'm winning. I want to play everything every day.
Okay. I've talked to some players who do the opposite. Like when they're losing, they double down, like in a desperate attempt to get it back, find it before it's gone forever.
I'm on the other end of the spectrum, I guess, where if I'm losing at the Rio every day, I need to take a day off and kind of sit by the pool, recharge, and then come back with a better mindset.
So does that mean it's been a tough stretch to start the series for you?
Yeah, I cashed the Super Turbo to start the 10K. I think I've probably played 5 events, and besides that, no other scores. Made day 2 of the 1500 deuce to 7 a couple days ago, bubbled, and then lost a long match in a heads up, which that was a tough day. But still just getting started, still positive, and my favorite event's coming up next, the 10,000 deuce to 7 no limit. So I'm looking forward to that.
Do you play favorites at this point with events and buy-ins, and you pick and choose, or you just like put a poker tournament in front of me and you're gonna try your best?
I definitely pick and choose. I look at the schedule and I probably only play about 10 or 12 events at this point. I don't play a lot of the smaller no limit events at the Rio. I'll play a few of these Aria high rollers. I'll play the deuce to 7 events, and then the bigger no limit events like 5K and over. I'll play those.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's go back to the beginning.
Sure.
November 86.
All the way back.
Because, you're born in Boston, but people kind of call you like an LA guy, kind of, but you're also living on the East Coast. So,
yeah.
What was life like as a youngin'?
Well, my dad was a college football coach, so I moved around a ton growing up. People always ask me where I'm from, and I don't really know what to say. Like, I was born in Boston, but I think I moved 6 times before high school, mostly on the East Coast. I
remember you telling me in a past interview that your dad coached in the SEC.
Yep, he was at LSU and Vanderbilt, so I lived in Louisiana, Tennessee, North Carolina, Virginia, Pennsylvania. Went to high school in Pennsylvania, so I spent the most time there, and then I went to college out near LA in California.
What did he coach? Was he a position coach?
Yeah.
Or?
He was linebacker coach, and he was usually a recruiting coordinator. He'd be in charge of going to high schools, looking at scouting kids, and then bringing in prospects.
And how was your football career?
I played in 8th grade. It was short and uneventful. I didn't get much playing time. I was a late bloomer, and by the time I was...
You're a big guy. I mean,
yeah, I wasn't back then, though. I was like 140 pounds. And by the time I could have been decent, I was already into swimming and water polo.
Okay.
So I stuck with the water sports. Played in college a couple years, but never had a football career.
Are you naturally buoyant?
I guess you could say that. Fat floats, right?
I don't know. Like, my daughter's taking swimming classes right now, and they're telling me she's got sinking legs. Like.
Oh, okay. I think that's good.
And I was like,
muscle.
Is that like an actual thing? Like,
I never heard of that, but I know muscle is denser than fat. Muscle sinks. I do know that.
There you go. So yeah, how good were you?
I'd say I was very good in high school and not very good in college. Like it's all relative. It's like anything. In a small circle, I was good in Pennsylvania for water polo and swimming. I was All-American.
I mean, you know the rules of water polo, so that probably puts you in the 1% right there.
Yeah, it's a pretty obscure sport, and almost all of the college and serious water polo in America is in California.
Oh wow!
So I had to go out there if I wanted to play in college, and I was excited at that to play and to get out of Pennsylvania, live in California. So I played 2 years, and I wasn't great in college. I didn't play too much, and was kind of undersized. We're playing against Stanford, USC, UCLA, all these guys, and we're getting crushed.
Undersized is a thing in water polo?
Yeah, most the D1 and...
I just assume it's how high you can swim.
No, these guys are like 6'5", 6'6". They're all like long.
So height matters, like, because you're not touching the ground.
No, but it's...
so, like, a powerful swimmer can't just jump out of the water like a dolphin? And...
No, the reach and the... it's almost like basketball, where being long will, like, affect your shots and stuff like that. So, it's tough to be 5'9" or whatever and be an elite water polo player.
Man, but the endurance...
Super tough sport. Tough.
I'm exhausted just thinking about like
just try swimming around for 30 minutes, then you have another guy trying to drown you, and then you gotta throw a ball in a goal at some point.
Yeah, while trying, I'm like, get the water out of my eyes.
Yeah, it's physical too, and a lot of stuff under the water that people don't see. It's pretty physical.
Oh, there's a lot of cheap shots.
Yeah.
What's the worst you had?
I mean, people will go for the boys and grab your suit. They'll kick you under the water, punch you under the water, stuff like that.
That's just par for the course? Like,
yeah, it's part of the game. It's not a penalty. Anything under the water.
You dished it out as well?
Yeah, I did the same.
I read you worked as a lifeguard.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah, when I was in college, I would actually I would drive across the country and be an ocean lifeguard in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. We had like a setup there.
Whoa, that makes sense. Yeah.
Just drive all the way to the other coast. But I had some friends who worked there. We had like a setup through our high school where we had a lot of my friends from high school who swam would end up at this same beach working.
Oh, that's cool.
So we'd all lifeguard next to each other, party at night. Pretty good setup.
That sounds like a good job. We have a question later about the worst job you had as a
I think that's the only job I've ever had. Might be
the only paycheck you've ever taken? Okay, so you're at University of Redlands, and what is the plan?
I was math and physics major. I wanted to work for NASA. I've always been into astronomy, and that was kind of the plan.
Like be a pilot, or more on
the
technical side of things?
The guy, one of those guys is.
You wanted to be in Houston.
Yeah, I was Houston
like on a headset.
crunching numbers with a headset and a pocket protector, kind of.
The gimbals are all out of whack.
Yeah,
I'm just picturing lines from Apollo 13 now.
Yeah, I was into that stuff, and for the first couple years, I was taking physics classes, math classes, playing water polo, swimming, and poker wasn't really a huge part of my life back then. I was playing small stakes, and
but you'd already been introduced to the game?
Yeah, I started playing in high school we'd watch Moneymaker on TV and play $5 sit and goes basically live.
You're 86. Okay, so you're 32.
What was Moneymaker, 2003?
Yeah, 2003.
Yeah,
so yeah,
junior year of high school, I guess we'd watch him and play little home games.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually I got a hold of my mom's credit card and got $75 on Party Poker and would play a little bit online, but not for much money. Just 10-cent, 25-cent cash game, something like that.
Did you win your first session?
First session online? No, I still remember first
Or
time.
in any session?
Oh,
I mean,
well, playing live.
what brings us back, right?
Yeah, playing live. I always won in the sit and goes, the small sit and goes, and I always really enjoyed it. Online, I remember the first time I played online, it was like 3 of us because we each put in $25. We were like taking turns holding the mouse, a bunch of 16-year-olds, and I still remember we got in King Jack on Ace Queen 10 against a guy who had King Jack with a flush draw, and we got free rolled and lost, and like. We were all convinced it's just rigged.
Like, that's a thing?
And we just cashed out our remaining, like, $30. I didn't know that was possible at the time. So that was our first stint at online poker. And then I started playing on UB a lot, and that seemed more legit to me. Ironic looking back.
Like, well, this site seems secure.
This is good.
Nothing fishy going on here.
Yeah. And when I was 16 or 17,
except for this one player. I could see my cards.
My go-to, I'd win a couple $100 on UB, and then buy scratch lotto tickets and lose it all.
Wow, okay. So you were very disciplined. Very disciplined start to your career.
Yeah, I did not have discipline back then, and yeah, that was it.
So math and physics was the plan. That's not how it worked out.
No.
Why was that?
I guess freshman and sophomore years in college, I started playing a lot online and for higher stakes. We good? What
led to that? What, I mean, it wasn't like you just took more out of your mom's credit card, right?
No, I was like building a bankroll by playing online, and I had a couple $100, then I had $1,000, and I think I won an 11 rebuy for like $15,000, I guess, my freshman year, and that kind of gave me a bankroll, and from there I was able to play bigger tournaments and kind of spun it up to hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Well, in college,
like freshman from the dorms.
Wow.
Playing online. But when I was doing that, I stopped going to class. My studies suffered.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, I quit water polo, quit swimming, and started to just play online poker all day. And I wasn't old enough to play live yet. But then when I turned 18, I started playing these like qualifiers. So I would qualify on PokerStars to go to London or Australia, and I would just go skip class for 2 or 3 weeks. And
wow, I mean it's kind of hard to focus on school when you're globetrotting.
Yeah, I def poker was like the priority.
Do you remember your first big live tournament?
I think it was EPT London, maybe in 2009.
So you satellite in. First time in London.
First time maybe first time out of no, I think I've been to Mexico, but first time in Europe for sure.
Yeah.
And I was back. I had the long hair, like
jet lagged
pictures.
Yeah. We're talking about your old image for sure. That's gonna come up.
That was during those days.
Those wraparound sunglasses will definitely come up as well.
Yeah, and I mean, I hadn't played much live. So I think I just went and played the 10,000-pound EPT main event. That was probably like season 2 or season 3 at EPT. Mm-hmm. Got crushed. I wasn't a very good live player, and walked around London a little bit. Came back and realized I had D's in all my classes for taking that trip. You know.
Were you treating it like I could be a poker player as a career, or I'm just gambling while I'm in school?
Probably somewhere in the middle. Like, I didn't consider it gambling, but I wasn't like looking at the big picture. Like, I didn't think, in 10 years I'm going to be a pro poker player. I was just thinking about the moment and the now.
Yeah.
Like, I'm good at this. I enjoy this. I have an opportunity to go play this tournament. Let's do it. It's exciting. It's fun. It's something new. I'm 18 years old.
Worst case scenario, you got a trip to London out of it. Made some good, Indian food.
Yeah.
Okay, so you switch majors to focus more on poker.
Yeah.
Is that with the attitude of, I'm going to graduate and turn pro?
No, it was more like workload. And I was getting into some like pretty tough physics class. I think the last semester where before I changed, I was taking like quantum mechanics and like all these like pretty high level physics classes. And
there's like NASA classes.
Yeah, and there's like 3 people in my class. because I went to a small school and it's like the physics department's pretty
hide.
small. So it's like, oh, where's Darren? Like the other two people are there, so I couldn't hide or anything. And
wow, that is a vastly different experience
yeah.
than I had.
And I was turning 21 in this. The first year I was 21, I remember I had like an internship to go to Hawaii. They have like observatory on Mauna Kea, I think. It's a NASA thing. And it was either I could go do this observatory thing or play the first World Series of Poker. And that was kind of like the tipping point. And I decided to go play the World Series and change my major to creative writing.
What did your fellow students think of the guy who has a 6-figure bankroll and is slumming it with them in their
They loved it. They
in
were
their
like
hole-in-the-wall bars?
They liked it. I had like, I don't want to call them fans, but like people in my dorm would come watch. Like if I'm at a final table, I would have people sitting in chairs around watching, and I like buy the whole dorm tacos if I win or something like that. But I guess it was a small school. I was known as like the poker guy, I guess.
Yeah.
And I had a couple other buddies who played in college, but none of them are still playing professionally now.
And the the brashness of just putting your name out there as your screen name. Right.
I don't know if it's brashness or just lack of creativity, I guess. I didn't have anything else witty or clever, and I don't know.
You weren't like, I'm just going to hide my identity. You're like, I'll put it out there. Here's my address, too. Come find me.
Nowadays, it's different. Now I'm like, oh, maybe I'll hide it a little bit, or like somebody else. Now other people use it as like decoy name or something. Like,
oh, really?
Yeah, my friend was playing under my name on a different site. I'm like, that's not cool.
Darren Elias, 11.
Yeah.
All right, so what was the first big breakthrough? Because you finished school, right?
Yeah, I did finish.
And what did your parents think when you were like, hey, I'm going to try poker for a living? I mean, you had evidence that you were good at the game.
Yeah, I think it was kind of assumed that was going to happen by the time I graduated, because I was playing pro 2 or 3 years before I graduated, doing well. And my parents fought me during the process before I had results, like, as they should, when I was saying, oh, poker's all that matters, look at all the money I have, I'm doing really well. But I didn't really have a plan, and I wasn't prepared for anything. But yeah, after I graduated, I threw all my stuff in my car and basically drove around the country playing live tournaments. And I think I went to Biloxi right after I graduated and played a 10K and the Southern Poker Championship. I drove from California to play.
Is it the one Bill Adler won?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, the Chip and a Chair. I was there.
Yeah.
They had the good seafood place across the street, Mary Mahoney's.
Okay.
I remember that.
I used to go to the Waffle House a lot. Chopped, peppered, and smothered and covered.
Oh, you gotta get it smothered and covered.
Yeah.
Is that cheese and onions?
Yeah, cheese and peppers maybe.
Man, that's one thing Vegas needs.
Yeah, right.
A good, safe, clean Waffle House.
Yeah, oxymoron.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about growing pains. Couldn't have gone perfectly the entire time, right?
Yeah, I would say I struggled a lot when I first started playing live, coming from the online game where I wasn't like a mass multi-tabler, but I would play 4 or 6 games, and I would just force things when I played live. I don't know if I wasn't patient enough or I wasn't observant enough, but I definitely wasn't the best live player when I first started playing when I was like 21.
Trying to win every pot?
Yeah, a little bit, and like not being cognizant of my image, that like I'm a young kid with sunglasses. Guys are going to expect me to bluff, and I was bluffing and getting called and like over bluffing in probably every spot. And I think a lot of online players did that when they first started playing live. And as you get older and more wise, I guess, you kind of calm down and play better. But it took me a couple years, and I was a losing live player, I guess, till I was probably 22 or 23, I guess, the first couple years.
What was the first score that got you back in the black?
Probably Borgata. I think I got 5th at Borgata. WPT. I had a score at Venetian,
too,
I guess.
Yeah, it was in 2011 at the Borgata Poker Open. You finished 5th for $230,000.
Yeah, was the Venetian before or after that?
In July 2010, you finished 2nd at the Venetian for $195,000.
I'd say that one was kind of like my first good score where by that time I was playing pretty well.
Mm-hmm. What did you have done differently? Or was it just more of a patience thing?
It was patience, yeah. It was patience and letting things come to you, being more observant and like adapting to the players, where online I was just kind of playing a good strategy and just and just going with it. I'd watch players and take notes, but I think that stuff's much more important live and kind of catering your strategies to who's at the table. That took me a little while to figure out, though.
You also had, in March of 2011, second place in a 25K at the LAPC for $153,000. So you were playing 25Ks even back then.
Yeah, I was definitely confident, I guess. I don't know how much I was winning in that tournament, EV-wise. But I remember I chopped that one with Eric Seidel. That was kind of fun to play him.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
Okay. We mentioned your image. Did you ever make a cognizant change in that regard, or a good hard look in the mirror about what you were putting off? I'm only asking that because you've always been very stoic at the table. I mean, you're kind of, I wouldn't call you a robot, but just unaffected. Unaffected by the cards or the opponents, but there's also an intimidation aspect to it, which I don't know if is natural or if it's something that you work on.
I mean, it's definitely nothing I'm not trying to intimidate anybody. If that happens, it's just effect, But I think there was a shift where I was opened up a little more to like the information around me, where when I first started playing, I had sunglasses, headphones, and I had this like fuck everybody mentality where I'm just gonna play and I don't really care what anyone else does, and that's not the best way to play live poker. And then I think eventually I lost the sunglasses, kind of took off the noise canceling headphones, like listened to people, try to talk, see what's going on a little bit more. And I think that helped me kind of like using the information around me instead of like putting on blinders and just trying to play.
I interviewed Stephen Chidwick for an upcoming cover story. Look out for that soon, Card Player readers. And I asked him about his own image shift. Obviously, he lost the hair, and then he grew out the beard. So he had a more intimidating facial presence, obviously. But he says he would stare people down just to get them to stop staring at him. And that's why he started doing it. It wasn't to intimidate people. It was to get them to stop intimidating him. So I'm wondering if you've noticed, when you're staring somebody down. I mean, because you don't wear sunglasses.
No, I don't. I'm probably not in the camp of like Stevie or Foxen, where like I'm staring you in the eyes, the whole hand, every hand. I think that's a little much. But I definitely look at people. I'm probably not in the top 5% of like stare down intense people, but
no, it's not even that you're like staring somebody down and intimidating them. It's more like you just stare and it's like you're just it's any other hand for you. Even a big pot on the turn where your tournament life's at stake, it could just as well be an easy pre-flop decision.
I'm focused and I try to keep a level head no matter what the decision and what the stage of the tournament is, or I'm not going to be affected by the moment or anything like that.
Can you think of a time when you were?
Definitely when I first started playing live.
What's the worst outburst you've ever had?
Outburst?
Yeah.
I mean, I've never like gone off on anybody at a table. I guess maybe when I first turned 21, I think I was drunk at the Venetian and I called a kid out to a heads-up match or something. We were playing 4-ring and I was like, let's play 10-20 heads-up, and we played.
Heads up for rolls.
Yeah, it was that kind of thing. That was like 11 years ago, I guess. I found the kid. He still plays. I apologize to him years later. But,
man.
That was the worst I've ever done, I think.
I can't. That's crazy. Never tossed a chair on the way out. Nothing that bad, huh?
None of that.
Yeah, you're not going to see it. Not going to see it.
No.
It would take a pretty tilting game, I'm sure. You played in Billy Baxter's 200-400 game for a while.
Yeah, I used to love that. That was deuce to 7, no limit. We'd play a couple summers. We'd play almost every day.
I mean, at that time, were you the youngest person in the game?
Yeah, definitely. Prahlad would play sometimes. I think he's older than me. He's probably 5 years older than me.
Right, but the lineup at that time. I mean, now everyone plays deuce. It feels like, but. It feels like the lineup at that time was, more Billy's generation. Yeah,
there were some senior citizens in there, and the guys from Bobby's room, some of them would hop in, the guys who play mix and play. But those are great times playing live mixed cash games with guys like Billy and Doyle, and they have stories. And
That's what I'm saying.
I get to hear this stuff that, like, one day I'll never get to hear, and I get to hear it firsthand. And he's a great game builder, BB, and Hope probably seeing him tomorrow for the deuce to 7. I would guess if he's coming out. Nowadays they play that game more in a mix, so I'd have to learn the other games. I don't really play the.
So is that why you?
The game doesn't exist anymore, really, in that format where it's just straight no limit single draw.
Was it a conscious decision to be tournament focused, or did you have aspirations of being the guy in Bobby's room one day, or the Aria?
I think I probably play more cash games than people think. I'm never the guy I'm not playing the biggest game in Vegas or anything like that. And nowadays it's mostly privatized where I couldn't even get in. But no, I never really had aspirations of playing big mix in Bobby's room or anything like that. And I do play cash games. Like I'll take a weekend and I'll drive down to DC or Borgata, play 25-50 for a weekend, and I enjoy that. But tournaments are still the main focus of my poker.
Let's talk about, obviously, the big tournaments, the ones that, got you the hardware. 2014, the Borgata Poker Open, biggest score of your career, $843,000. Does that change your life at all, or?
I wouldn't say it changed my life from, a financial perspective, but,
you had scores obviously before that, and even WPT final tables before that.
Yeah, it just felt good to close that one out. I think I had been to that was my third final table, and I had been close, and I had my family there watching, and I think I probably proposed to my wife shortly after that, and it was good to just get.
Was that going to happen regardless if you won or not?
Probably, but it felt good to get the monkey off my back and just close out a major tournament and get a title. And Borgata was kind of my home casino. I was playing a lot there, playing cash games there, so it was kind of special to win at your home casino your first major title.
Why did you end up settling down in the East Coast and not in Vegas or in LA?
Most of my family is in Pennsylvania, or they were at the time, and I ended up meeting my wife at Borgata in Atlantic City in it was 10 years ago, so was it 2009 maybe?
Okay.
And she's from Jersey, her family's from Jersey. She wants to stay.
Is she in the gambling world?
No, not at all. But she's very much wants to be close to her family, so if I was going to be with her, I was going to end up living in New Jersey, so that's where I'm settled.
Yeah. And at least you have the games nearby.
Yeah, now we have online. I guess I can go home and win a bracelet from home now.
Yeah, it could be worse. You could be in Tennessee or something.
It could be worse.
Miles away.
Jersey's not my favorite state, but it could be worse.
There you go. All right, so then, later that year, obviously, number 2, WPT Carribbean, $127,000. Now you have 2. Most people don't have 1.
Yep.
Very few people have 2. What are you thinking at this point?
I think that was the next tournament I played. I'm pretty sure that was that was back to back, and that was pretty cool. I was just on a heater, and I always try to play as much as I can when I'm on a heater, and you can kind of feel that where things are going well, you're playing well, and
do you believe in the power of momentum?
I do. I do. I believe in I know, as a science guy, I know it doesn't make sense, or mathematically hot hand fallacy or whatever. It doesn't make sense, but.
Yeah, but we see it in sports all the time.
I know. They call it the hot hand fallacy.
It's
the guy's going to make the shot. He's making them. He's going to make the next shot. And I believe in poker a little bit. And there's just that feeling when you're playing well, running well.
Well, to clarify, you don't believe that your flush draw is going to come in more than the math says it will.
No.
You just think in this particular spot, you're feeling like it's coming in.
Yeah, you won the last tournament you played, and then you enter the next one, and you feel like you have a legitimate shot to win. No matter how big the field is, you feel like you have the confidence, and you're running well enough where you can win. And it goes the other way, too, where when you're on a downswing and you feel like you can't win a flip, you have no shot of going deep in this tournament, where in the end it's all bullshit. I mean, it's just math, and you're going to run how you're going to run. But I think some people, that can get to their head, and I try to focus more on the positive aspect of it when things are going well.
Well, do you think it's all evened out for you over the course of your career, or do you think you've run above expectation, below? I mean, there's some people you look at in their poker career and you go, okay, that guy, maybe he just started 3-4 years ago. That guy's clearly running above expectation. Or you could even say Justin Bonomo, as great as player as he is, is running above his expectation.
I would say I probably ran near expectation. I would guess, because it's gone both ways for me. Like when I won that one at Borgata, I got in kings versus aces versus prince with like 15 left for all the chips, and I won that. And that's a $800,000 swing or something. And then I've had other situations where it's gone the other way. I've had the aces with 12 left, or the Jacksonville final table last year. I think took some tough beats there not to win that one. And it goes both ways. And I would guess...
We all know about your very public beef with Symbolus, Mathis Symbolus.
Right? He knocks me out in third every tournament we play. I had a big Venetian tournament, I think it was last year or 2 years ago, where I got aces versus kings versus queens, three-handed, where first was like $700,000, and Andy river to queen to win the tournament. So it goes both ways. I'd love to know the actual math, the numbers, how I ran, but I'd guess I've run near
Well,
expectation.
I mean, for a guy with 4 WPT titles, and obviously high roller wins, it's weird that you don't have $1 million score. Does that feel like a monkey on your back?
No, because, I mean, it was a little disheartening. I guess LAPC, I had a shot at it, and it was chip leader and didn't get it. But nowadays, the tournaments I play, I only probably have 4 or 5 shots at it a year, I guess, to win $1 million. Like in the WPTs nowadays, there's usually not $1 million up top. And get the main event, LAPC, PCA stuff, a couple high rollers. But it's not something that wears on me like I need $1 million score or something.
Well, let's talk about the World Poker Tour, because you obviously are the record holder with 4 WPT titles. Just to knock out the other ones, Fallsview in 2017 for $335,000, and last year the Bobby Baldwin Classic here at Aria. We're at Aria, by the way, listeners. For another $387,000. So, as far as the tour goes, you're one of the best players, if not the best player on this tour. But then there's the high roller tier above it. You have the mid tier below it. Circuit events, that kind of stuff. Where do you rank yourself?
I mean, I try not to rank myself too much against other players. I mean, I'll let my actions speak for that. I'm not going to talk about like how good I am, I guess. But I will say that the high roller scene, the high roller players nowadays are incredibly good, and the solvers training programs have kind of changed the game. Where I'm a confident player. I know naturally I understand poker very well, as good as almost anybody. But I'm not so arrogant to enter 100K against these guys without any preparation or training and expect to be winning. Because these guys are also natural, brilliant players, and they study all day. And they know every spot like the back of their hand, and they're working with AI programs who play better than humans.
Are you not doing solver training then?
I am, but not nearly as much as these guys are. So say I'm doing 10 hours a week. So these guys, some of them are doing 10 hours a day.
Yeah.
And not to make excuses, some of it I have a family, I have a child. Most of these guys in the high roller scene are young.
You bring up a good point. The high roller survey that Card Player just came out. You could find it online, and one of the demographics in it, we interviewed 61 high roller players, and only about a third reported that they had kids.
Yeah.
And honestly, of those that reported they had kids, a lot of those people were older, and their kids are grown and out of, so they're not taking up their time,
I remember there's a Twitter post maybe a couple years ago or something, but I was ranked like 35 in the world or something in GPI, and I was the top father. Like there was nobody above me that had kids, which is kind of interesting to me.
Wow, 34 players.
Something like they were all just
none of them have the responsibilities.
Yeah, now it might be a little different, but it's wild.
Yeah, it's good. So obviously, you don't have the time to, become one of those guys out there. But do you feel like that's a slight on what you've accomplished or anything? Because I mean, I wouldn't call you the best minor league poker player, obviously. When did 10Ks become the minor
Yeah,
leagues?
or like
that's crazy.
I'm in 25Ks and it's not high rollers anymore.
Exactly.
So,
Just because you're not playing $1 million Tritons or whatever.
Yeah, I guess like I haven't completely given up on getting into the solving and getting on. I'm never going to be traveling the super high roller circuit and playing 100Ks and $1 million tournaments. And I really don't play internationally too much anymore. But I do, when I do enter these, like I play the 100K of the World Series every year, the 50K. When I enter these tournaments, I do want to be able to compete and be one of the best players in the field. And
you obviously have. I mean, you won the Gardens Poker Championship 25K earlier this year.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, that was a 25K. You have another final table at Bellagio in the 25K, high roller stuff in Canada. Obviously, you have success against these guys. It's just more picking your spots.
Yeah, it's picking my spots and like coming to terms that I'm going to have to do more prep work than I'm used to nowadays as these guys study and get better. Because for me, especially, I struggle with the shot clock a little bit in these high roller tournaments where these guys are they get to a spot and they're more prepared where they're like, oh, this is the situation. I've studied. I know I bet 30% of the pot this percentage of the time, 60% of the pot this percentage of the time. And they know this already. They've done the homework, and I'm there, and I'm kind of trying to figure it out on the fly sometimes. Yeah. And sometimes I may make mistakes. Sometimes I'm under time pressure. And if I was more studied, I think that would come easier to me. And that's something I'm going to focus on more this year.
When you do look at the numbers, when you do look at the solvers or whatever, do you find that your intuition is pretty much in line with what the numbers are saying anyway?
Yeah. In most spots, I'm guessing correctly, but there are things that as the programs get better that a human would never really think of, and there's like holes in ranges and ideas and how ranges interact that like aren't intuitive and things that you're only really going to learn from the numbers, working with these solvers, and that stuff's important.
All right, I thought it would be fun to revisit a blog post I found of yours from Pocket Fives.
Oh, God.
In 2006.
Okay, sounds like what, 18 or 19? How old was I? 19?
19 years old.
Okay.
So this is 13, 14 years ago.
Uh-huh.
But, I mean, it reads like a motivational speaker.
Yeah.
Like, I read it, and I was so
Jacked
fired up. I was to do something. It didn't even have to be poker. I was just like, I'm going to hit it with 100%.
Yeah, that was back when I had the, like, fuck everybody mentality. My dad was against me playing poker, and I just kind of had a chip on my shoulder, and I wanted to, like, show everybody that I could do it.
Well, let's see how much you've changed. I'm going to read you some quotes, and I'll see if you still feel that way.
Okay.
All right, this one says, I hate losing more than anything else in the world. I may not always show it, but I am trying to win in every scenario, in every aspect of my life. Not just beating my buddy in a game of basketball, but showing up to a party and looking better than some idiot as well.
Oh my God, that's brutal. Probably not the last part. I mean, I still hate losing, but I'm not going to many parties anymore. Yeah, I still hate to lose, and I'm competitive, so that's something that stuck with me. I probably wouldn't choose those examples nowadays, but that's funny.
Well, obviously, we talked about how stoic you are. How do you take losses? Do you walk out of the room before you start screaming? And
any screaming I do, I guess, like is internal. Where if I lose and I get unlucky, I'm fine. But if I misplayed a hand or there's some screaming going on in my head, I guess upset with myself. Or
what do? You shake it off that night, or?
It usually takes an hour or so where I kind of internalize it and cool off, see if there's anything I can do to avoid making the same mistakes in the future. But I've always been pretty good at self-analyzing, like being objective and seeing where I've made a mistake or where I got unlucky and trying to grow from that. But it usually takes me an hour and then I'm over it.
All right. Well, so we'll give you half credit for still on that one. Aggression is a second language, maybe even a lifestyle for me.
Jeez.
You can't just sit around and wait for things to fall in your lap. Attack. Push, push, push. That's the key. Assert yourself in everything you do.
Yeah, I guess I'd go half on that too. I mean, you can't be complacent. You can't sit around and expect things to fall into your lap. I think that goes for any line of work, really. I don't know about aggression. I don't know if that's the word I would use now.
Does that work with your playing style these days? Are you a maniac at the table?
I'm not as aggressive as I was back then. I'll tell you that. I just bluff catch that kid who wrote the article all day and print money. But I think half credit. That stuff's still in me, but less intense, I'd say.
There's more intensity here. I have a fire inside of me that you wouldn't believe. Want to get me going? Tell me I can't do something, anything. Fear of failure is as powerful a tool for motivation than anything I've ever seen.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Well, let's talk about fear of failure. Mm-hmm. Do you have that even now? Or are you like, you know what, even if I get old and my mental faculties decline, I can still go...
I wouldn't say fear of failure, fear of like mediocrity, or like I'd never want to fall down into the masses and be like an average poker player. Like I would never want something like that to happen. So failure, I guess, I wouldn't say I'm afraid of failure. I want to stay sharp, and I don't want to fall behind the curve ever. And working hard off the table is kind of something that needs to be done now.
All right. Well, I don't have any more quotes for you, but you did say in that article that you don't believe you have any natural poker talent, and that you only succeed based on your hard work. Mm-hmm. Do you really believe that?
Well, I guess work. The way I used work there is just showing up every day and playing your best, mm-hmm. which is something that I think I've always done. Where there's great players who when they're playing their A game, they're best players in the world, but a lot of times they show up someday and they don't have it, and they don't play very well, or they don't want to be there, and
their F game looks like shit.
Yeah, and I think for me, I play less than most people. I play lower volume, probably like 50 tournaments a year. But say I'm 100 when I'm at my A game, I'm probably not getting much lower than like a 95 when I'm not playing my very best. I don't have much variance in how I'm playing, I'd say.
One of the things I noticed watching you play is that you do not give up a chip easily. Mm-hmm. It seems like you do intelligently fight you make it very frustrating for people to even win like the little ones.
Yeah, I mean, you have to be a fighter, and I think all great players are like that, where they hate to lose, they don't want to lose any pot. I mean, within reason, you can't go nuts. But when you play with any of these guys who are the best players in the world, they're going to battle, and every pot they don't want to lose it.
So going back to the whole, natural talent versus somebody who practices and studies, do you believe somebody could become a Darren, a 4-time WPT champion off the street, just learning the game with today's tools? You don't think there's anything about you that is just more naturally suited to card sense, or? I
think there is. There's something, when I talk with Nick Petrangelo, we talk a lot of poker. We call it like an internal solver, where like in your head you have your own idea of like how things should work, and you have your own like PO solver or whatever in your head that, and some people have that better than others. And I think somebody who has a very strong internal sense of poker and studies could do that. But with the WPT, it's a lot of exploitative play, which is studying is going to help you with that somewhat, but a lot of that's going to come naturally and with creativity.
Well, I guess that goes back to your approach, right? When you walk into a 3,500 WPT, how are you going to play differently as opposed to the 50K you just played at the series?
The 50, I mean, when I play those high rollers, I'm going to play, for the most part, much closer to like a GTO strategy, where when I'm at Choctaw playing a 3,500, I'm going to make wild deviations to adjust to how these guys are playing and try to win more money than...
Is that based on what, live reads or...
Live reads or...
I mean, a lot of these 100K guys laugh at the idea of live reads.
Yeah, it's not as much live reads as it is understanding my opponent's strategies. Like, I think a lot of people, they play against a recreational player who's awful, and they just dismiss them as, oh, this guy's a fish, I'm going to beat him. But they don't stop and take a look at how he's actually playing and try to understand, like, what's this guy trying to accomplish? What's he doing? Like, how is he playing?
Yeah.
Like, is he? And then put yourself in his shoes and kind of understand his strategy, even if it's an awful strategy. And then you can kind of predict what they will do.
Yeah, I mean, it's not enough to know they're bad. You have to know how they're bad so you can stack them.
Exactly, and then how they would play certain hands and what they would do. And usually you can predict what they would do with a given hand at any spot, which is pretty useful.
All right, we got some. I would be remiss if I didn't bring up the robbery.
Mm-hmm. Of course.
Horrifying when I heard about that. Infuriating.
Yep.
That somebody would target somebody in our community.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because that is a vulnerable spot for a lot of poker players when they are known to be on the road or whatever. How did you take it then, and how are you taking it now?
It's been tough. For me, there's a big separation. Like, if you want to like try to rob me in a parking lot on the road or whatever, I can handle that. I'm strong. But when someone comes to your house and your kids are home and the wife, that's a totally separate issue and makes it a lot worse.
And the fact that he was a poker player.
Yeah.
A scumbag poker player who, you know, obviously put your babysitter through a horrifying experience and endangered your child and all this nasty. I mean, but you're not the first poker player to have been targeted. There's plenty of famous stories out there of poker players who've been robbed on the way back to a hotel room or in their own house. Doyle Brunson's entire biography, the through line of it is his robbery in his own home.
Yeah.
So, you know, what do you feel about that? Is this an issue? Or?
Yeah, I mean, it's still an issue because there's it's just like a sense of violation when someone's in your home like that. And I'm still on the road a good bit, traveling, playing tournaments. And,
that's what I'm saying. It's not like you can just stay there and make it all better.
I can't. I mean, what we do is we try to make the house as safe as possible. Alarms, security, camera, guns, anything we can do. And it's just going to take time for my wife and my family to feel comfortable again sleeping at home when I'm gone. And that's something that didn't exist before, you know, and that's because of this robbery and because I was targeted. So it's been tough. It's been a tough time. But it is good that he's been caught. No one was hurt. Nothing was taken. I keep telling myself it could have been a lot worse, but it's still one of the worst things that's ever happened to me. Yeah,
I mean, I just can't imagine. I guess that's why a lot of the guys who live out of their suitcase never really plant roots. Mm-hmm. You know, nothing to lose if it's all in your backpack.
Yeah.
All right, we got some rapid fire questions for you to close out the podcast.
Sure.
Biggest pot you've ever won or lost? Or if you're not comfortable with that, biggest pot you've ever witnessed?
I'd say probably between 150 and 200,000 in the deuce games. I've played a couple of those.
And did they go your way? Or?
One of them I was bluffing and lost. I remember that.
Were you snowing or with a couple of deuces? Or
I was Pat and I don't know how to say his name. Faryad Bun. He's a deuce player. Freddie. He won a bracelet.
Freddie Bagnotti. Yeah. Faryad Bagnotti. Yeah.
He was Pat behind me, and I knew he had a better hand than I did. So I had to try to bluff him off it, but he knew that too, I guess, and he called. I lost that one. But I've played a lot of pots, I guess. Did
he make a good call? I mean, did he call you with like a rough 9?
Yeah, it was a hero call. He had like a 9, and I kind of
knew. It wasn't like you bluffed into the wheel or anything.
No, it wasn't like that. we all kind of knew the situation there.
Yeah.
I've played a lot of pots, I guess, between 100 and 150. Nothing massive over that though.
But how does that feel?
Good. I mean, it gets your blood pumping. I mean, I like playing cash games. I don't get a chance to play like 200, 400 or bigger very often. So when I do, it's exciting. And most of the time I'm playing 25, 50-ish.
So you still do feel a little bit of the adrenaline when you're playing at the table?
Yeah, in big cash game pots, yeah. I enjoy
or even
that.
Deep in a tournament still? Or is it just automatic at this point?
I mean, the playing is automatic, but I definitely feel the excitement like you're on a big major final table and you wake up in the morning. I mean, that's an exciting feeling that you get to play for a lot of money. And it's a big moment. I enjoy that still.
Do you sleep the night before a big final table?
I sleep pretty well. I do. Usually, I don't eat much when I'm in it. Like LAPC was like a 6-day tournament. I think I lost 10
pounds.
The
poker player diet.
Yeah.
People are always like, "Oh, how do you lose weight? Well, go play a cash game for 13 hours. You'll forget. You'll just forget to eat.
Run deep in a multi-day tournament. I just don't get hungry. So I go like 4 or 5 days, just one meal, one small meal.
Nice little way to cleanse.
Yeah.
Best swap or piece you've ever had of anybody?
I guess Nick last year in the 100K. We do a lot of swaps where he has my stuff, I have his stuff.
Nick Petrangelo.
Yeah.
By the way, if you're reading that High Roller survey, just voted funniest man in poker.
Oh, he's hilarious, man. Absolutely hilarious.
I watched the video of him giving you beer tips
Oh, those? I have an archive full of those. Most of them not safe for the internet, but those are good.
There's a couple that you released on Twitter
Yeah.
of his instructional videos.
I'll have to release another one.
Because he was on this podcast, and he was very informative, but he did not give us his comedy, so...
Yeah, he has his like work mode where he's going to be serious and talk about poker, and he doesn't show everybody.
Still a good episode to check out. You get to hear a lot more about hockey than comedy, though. So, yeah, a piece of Nick when he won the 100K last year.
Yeah, I think he got 2.7 million or something, and I had a decent piece of it. I've never hit like a huge main event.
I imagine
swap.
you pay out more than you get back.
Yeah, I don't swap a ton, so like I've paid Nick a lot, but I don't have a ton of swaps. I guess one good story. I was buying Joseph Chong's action all summer the year he went deep in the main event. I had 10 of everything, and I'm begging him to give me a piece of the main. I probably would have bought 10 for like 450,000 or something. But he said no, and he kept it. It's a bad beat on a swap, I guess.
He knows the main event.
He
knew. The main event's too valuable.
Yeah.
Weirdest place you've ever played poker for money? Have you just always been in card rooms, or did you ever get any shady situations?
I used to play this. I don't know if it counts or not. I used to play on an air card a lot on my laptop, and I would play in the car in like the grocery store. Like I remember, I would drive from LA to Vegas, and I would play. It was obviously super dangerous, but I'd be in my convertible with my hair going. I'd be playing online in the passenger seat.
Oh my god!
On the air card.
I can't imagine how many times you were disconnected. Like
I lost a ton of money on stuff like that. But I used to play on the air card all the time.
Man, that's how you know you're in deep. There's no
one-handing the laptop in the grocery store.
The best poker player we've never heard of.
You never heard of?
Not never heard of. Just doesn't get the credit. Who we ignoring?
I'd say. I've always thought Tom Marchese is one of the best players in the world, always has been, and kind of people sleep on him nowadays. He doesn't play as much, but he's always been one of the toughest opponents I've played against.
He was a card player of the year back in the day, and then he kind of got into the high rollers, but only in Vegas.
And you don't see him very much.
He didn't want to travel.
Yeah.
And he's been kind of chilling for a little bit, but yeah.
Yeah, people, he doesn't get brought up as much as he should, I think, and one of those guys, incredibly tough to win a chip off of, a tight, disciplined player, but still very capable of making these big bluffs and big spots, and a nightmare to play against.
Shout out to Marchese. What was the worst job you had before poker? We already talked about.
Yeah, I guess it's lifeguard. I applied in high school to be a cook, I guess, at the airport, and I didn't get that job.
A cook at the airport?
Like a line chef at the airport restaurant. But I didn't get, that would have been a bad job if I got it. But
that's crazy. You never had any, McDonald's gigs or even a paper route?
They wouldn't hire me.
Can you imagine? What would you do now if poker went away? Tomorrow, poker's made illegal.
And I have to work for money?
You got to go find a job.
Probably something with like trading or numbers, data.
Get back into the math.
Yeah, some kind of market trading, I would
You did mention that you wanted to write.
Yep.
Is that still a thing?
I do enjoy writing, but it's not something I do very often. And I have really little desire of writing like nonfiction or poker stuff. I don't really like writing that. Like
It'll be the most eloquent poker strategy book of all time.
That's not what I want to do with writing. I'd like to write
corner.
I'd like to write a novel or like something fiction.
Gambling related or?
Yeah, the project I worked on in college I was fiction major and kind of like a novel about a kid who plays cards, Stu Unger-esque story.
The key is you got to make it into a YA novel now, so that it gets picked up as a movie franchise.
Yeah,
you want it to be the next Harry Potter.
He plays poker, but he also solves crime.
Hunger Games.
The Hardy Boys.
Is there a Hunger Games element that will help?
I need to get that in there too. Yeah. I'll have to revisit it at some point, but I do have half a novel sitting on my computer somewhere.
Well, I am an editor. If you ever need a second pair of eyes.
Okay.
What was your largest non-poker wager? Or are you just Mr. Discipline, like never put a money into the pits?
I'm not a huge bettor.
Sports prop bets?
Not sports at all. Prop bets. I guess I did that whiskey bet last year, which was the biggest prop bet I'd done. my friend bet me I couldn't do 10 shots of whiskey in 15 minutes for 10 grand. And
that seems safe.
Yeah, I won that bet. That's probably the largest bet I've made. I bet a little bit on...
Was it good whiskey?
I think we did Johnny Walker Black.
Okay, so it wasn't like you were like putting down a handle of something in a plastic jug from the grocery store.
No, for some reason he thought I couldn't do it or would get sick or something.
Yeah.
But there were some clauses where I couldn't throw up, but I was fine.
The pain was worth the 10 grand?
Yeah, there was no pain. And I bet on that Liv B fight, the MMA thing. I was pretty confident he would win. But I'm not really a gambler.
Well,
in that sense.
I mean, Liv looks like a beast now.
Yeah. I've known him and how he is. He's kind of like, I don't want to call him a psycho, but he's a good athlete and he's very intense about training and stuff.
When I first met Olivia, I was like, okay, this guy, he's artsy. He's almost like a wispy Frenchman.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, he belongs presenting galleries in Manhattan.
But he will beat the shit out of you.
Like, and now he looks like an MMA fighter. So
yeah,
he obviously
he's got two sides. I guess.
Put the work in.
Yeah.
Okay, so what is a talent that you don't have that you wish you did?
I guess the grinder mentality that like these guys like Deep Peters or Ari Engel have, where you can just go tournament to tournament every day and play everything and not get tired and do your A game.
Brought up Deep Peters, like that he is the epitome of it. I mean, I used to say Jason Mercier before he got married and had a kid, but Deep Peters for sure. Yeah,
I always say when it's all said and done, he'll probably be number one on the all-time money list, just because he has the drive and consistently plays everything, plays well. Where
not too far from it now.
Yeah, and I don't have that where I want to play every day. Like I'm even now I'm towards the end of my stay. I'll play one more tournament and I'm ready to go home and I'm ready to have some time away.
Do you really want that, or would it just be convenient for your career to have it?
I guess it's a good question. Yeah, maybe I don't want that, and maybe
you know what I mean?
Maybe I need the balance. I guess I'd make more money if I had that, but I don't know
miserable?
how that.
Not to say David is miserable. Or
yeah,
anything.
my quality of life.
He's
might
a lovely
go
girlfriend.
down.
He's on this podcast. Obviously, he's very happy.
Yeah, if I was at the Council Bluffs in Iowa playing with Ari, I don't know how happy I would be. You know, so I guess it's a quality of life versus money thing.
Headphones on at the table? Yes or no?
Yes.
And what kind of music are you listening to?
It's kind of varied over the years. Nowadays, it's real chill, like instrumental stuff. We'll listen to these like hour-long mixes that are no words, like chill step. A lot of them are called. But back in the day, it was a lot of rap.
Chill step?
Yeah.
Is it so? It's electronic dubstep, but
mellowed out. Yeah.
Okay.
It's not like
I'd like that better than dubstep. That's for sure.
Yeah. Back in the day, though, like Wu-Tang or like
okay.
pretty hardcore rap.
Do you have a favorite album?
36 Chambers, I guess.
Oh, not of Wu-Tang. I just meant overall.
Oh, a favorite album overall.
That could be your answer too.
Yeah, I'll stick with that. Wu-Tang's pretty good.
Do you have any pump-up music?
Not really. I do get in like modes where if I'm in a tournament, I'll kind of go through the same songs.
So you should do
over and over.
Like audiobook, like record yourself reading that 2006
that
blog
article?
post.
Oh my god! I'll be all in the first hand I play.
Just play it to yourself.
I'll be too jacked
Aggression, push, attack. That's the key.
It's a good way to get knocked out.
Do you have a tournament routine or like a? Obviously, today's an off day. You're just kind of chilling. But on a day when you're going to play a 2 p.m. event, you like gotta hit the gym, or I need my smoothie, or I need to watch this clip.
No, I'm not. I'm not the routine. I'm not one of these guys with the gym, yoga, smoothie. I'm not one of those. It varies day to day. Some days I get a good night's sleep. I go to the gym. I go to the pool. Other days I'm hungover in bed until an hour before the tournament.
Okay.
Get up and have a coffee and play.
So no superstitions either?
No, nothing like that. Maybe if I don't really have superstitions, I guess.
Do you have a favorite movie?
Sure. True Romance, I'd say, is my top pick. Tarantino, I think it's his first movie.
I mean, that wouldn't even be a lot of people's favorite Tarantino and favorite movie.
It?
Of course, yeah.
That's great.
Back when I could stand Tarantino.
Yeah. He still does some good stuff, I guess.
I'm like, it depends on like what I last saw of his. Because I'm like, oh, I've seen this before. It's just a different genre.
Yeah.
Or if I haven't seen him in a while, I'm like, yes, I'm in the mood for some Tarantino today. We end the podcast every time with the same question from the random question generator. That's not what I say. Okay, we end the podcast the same way every time with a question from the random question generator. Are you ready?
Sure. I'm scared, but...
All right. What are you interested in that most people aren't?
Science, I would say.
Okay.
Astronomy. I'm interested in like big picture science, like things that affect like the human race, which I guess is like artificial intelligence at this point, space travel. Like I'm interested in Mars, colonizing Mars, exploring space, that kind of thing.
You think society will live long enough to get there?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we'll be there within 10 or 20 years. I think.
Wow.
We'll
colonizing?
We'll have not a lot of people, but some people on Mars living there.
Have you talked to Brian Rast at all about any of this?
No.
He was on the podcast, and he was, at the time, doing a very deep dive into the cosmos and very much into the science-based stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like that's what you're...
Yeah, I love it. And if I'm going to read or try to learn about something, it's usually space-related or like hypotheticals with that kind of thing. And just really, it interests me in college, and I wanted to study it, and it still interests me. And artificial intelligence, too, is something that... I've really been into lately.
The one thing I do like about the whole questions of the cosmos is it takes the focus away from the minutia of the problems we're currently dealing with today.
Yeah.
That in the grand scheme of things won't matter in 5 years. You know?
I know you're worried about like paying something, and we're just these little like motes of dust in space. You know?
Exactly.
Like, what does it really matter?
One more thing I know you're interested in, because obviously we mentioned Nick's beard tutorials on your Twitter, but all the other media on your Twitter is meat related.
Oh yes, smoking meats is kind of one of my hobbies nowadays.
You're a grill master, or is that?
I'd say pit master.
Okay,
yeah,
pit master.
I do grill a bit, chicken and burgers, but mostly
that's amateur hour.
Yeah, the real work gets done in the smoker, where I'm using like low and slow cooking for like 10 hours with wood chunks, like apple wood, cherry wood.
The wood makes all the difference, right?
The wood does make a difference.
What's your favorite wood?
So I'm big with apple. I like apple wood with pork.
Okay.
I cook a lot of like ribs and pulled pork. You want like a sweeter wood for those usually, and it's just a big process. Like
I mean, this is time consuming.
Yeah, and you have to buy the meat. You got to marinate it overnight.
Is there not good barbecue in New Jersey? You can't just go down the street and...
Decent barbecue, I'd say, but I have this thing where like if I'm really good at cooking a certain dish, I usually don't go out to a restaurant and get it. Like if I can make something well, I usually don't go out and get it.
I feel that kind of way about steak.
Yeah,
I mean,
you know
there's some great steakhouses, but I know how I like my steak. You know?
The smoking's just tough. It's such a time-consuming process. Like, am I really going to spend 20 hours to cook myself?
20?
Yeah.
That's not all cooking time.
That's
time,
like
I'm
prepping,
sure.
dry rub, putting it in the night
Marination.
before, marination, getting the smoker going, clean up, just so I can eat a couple racks of ribs.
Cost must be ridiculous for these things too.
No, it's not that bad. Charcoal's cheap. The wood is cheap.
The opportunity cost of you playing an online tournament is probably pretty high.
If you're talking opportunity cost, it's a different story, I guess. But I do enjoy it, and it's nice when I'm hosting to be able to do something and cook for people. I do like cooking. And that's kind of my favorite thing to cook right now. The ribs and...
Hey, you think David Peters is getting into smoking his meats?
No. Maybe David Williams.
Yeah?
Yeah, I hear he's a good chef.
David said he's going to come on the podcast, so I got to get him on here.
Okay.
I think he lives up with me anyway. So, anyway, Darren, thank you so much
for
coming on the podcast, and good luck the rest of the summer.
Thank you. Appreciate it, man. Happy to be here.
That's it. That's the show. A big thank you once again to Darren Elias for sharing part of his off day with me in the podcast. Please follow him on social media at Darren Elias. You can follow us on social media at CardPlayerMedia or at poker_stories. Please subscribe if you haven't already done so. And if you would like to earn some nice karma points, then you got to do us a favor and rate this podcast. Did you know that less than 1% of listeners bother to rate the podcast they listen to? That's astonishingly lazy. You got to be special, be part of the 1%, and give us a 5-star rating. Even better, leave us a review and let us know about it with an email to pokerstories@cardplayer.com, and we'll hook you up with a free digital subscription to Card Player Magazine. Thanks for listening.